I'm not going to go into a crazy intro because I pretty much just recorded the one for Gate 1, but if you're watching this one too, or maybe you only need help with Gate 2, what's up guys, it's your boy Haiga, and today I'm going to be talking about Expertise Gunlancer in Inferno Valtan or Hell Mode Valtan for Gate 2. I'm not going to be doing a super in-depth guide on every single pattern, how to dodge every single thing. At the end of the day, you're going to have to go in, fail a bunch, and get better and just learn. But I am going to try and talk about some of the things that may be expected of the Gunlancer that you wouldn't think of right away. We're still going to be focusing on Stagger. This time we're really going to make sure we're focusing on counters, and you're really going to want to make sure that you're focusing on that Purify. Purify is obviously important for Gate 1 because you don't want people to die, but Purify is extremely important for Gate 2, especially if you don't have a Paladin in your party and the Gunlancer is paired with a Bard. You want to make sure that you're saving your Nalasias exclusively for the Purify, unless there's like an emergency or something like that, or you know that you could use it. But anyways, let's start going over some of the major, things you're going to have to take care of. Number one for this one is Stagger. You don't have to worry about taunting. You're still going to taunt for synergy, but you don't have to worry about Valtan snapping to you, so your taunt doesn't really matter. You could use it at your will to fill up your meter, give you a shield, whatever. Most parties use Way as the first sidereal after Valtan breaks the third pillar. If you are going for Deathless, and if you're not going for Deathless, the start of the battle is a little bit different. If you're just going for a normal clear and you've already, been told about that cutscene thing and you've already not skipped the cutscene and done all that stuff, right? Like, let's say you guys have already died 3 times, you're going back in, so you could just skip the cutscene. Once you skip the cutscene, you can literally walk up to the boss. I usually auto attack 3 times to get a good, feel for the timing. And then you can see once he becomes vulnerable, right? Because at the start, he's invincible. You do not want to hit him while he's invincible. Once he is able to be attacked, I would taunt, put on your shield, bash, and then shield bash. And then I usually try to fire bullet to purify the vertigo off of me. Every time he spins in Gate 2, he does that little, red telegraph spin. It applies a slow debuff called vertigo. That is why the purify is so important. Off the start though, if you get hit with the vertigo, you can Nalasias because the next vertigo doesn't come for way past 30 seconds. But doing this where you get the bash and the shield bash help get that stagger down just a little bit more, which is pretty helpful going forward. It also has a decent chance of being aggroed on you when he does the charge, which makes it so that your squishier teammates don't have to worry about dodging it. They could just get out the way early. If you are going for Deathless and you have to watch the cutscene, just gather up with everyone else, go to the pillar, and then, you'll get your stagger in when you get your stagger in. But if you're going for Deathless, you're probably not watching this video. After you do your little bit of stagger and he starts charging, you want to make sure you line up in front of that first pillar. As you go through more and more, you'll learn about the sweet spots on where the perfect point is. If you're grabbing the first orb, it's very easy. You can just sit all the way on the wall, use your counter gun lance to parry the charge. If you're positioned well, you can actually land the counter gun lance after he crashes into the pillar, and then therefore the hit will count as destruction. So your destruction bombs, and then shield bash, fire bullet usually breaks them with everyone throwing their stuff, and then you can grab the first orb. If you're not grabbing the first orb, do not go to the wall because you might accidentally pick up the orb, but counter gunlance towards the wall. What this will do is when he's running past you, your parry will hit him as he runs through. It won't apply destruction, but it will do a little bit of extra damage, so that's nice. After you do your little bit of destruction and get your damage in, you want to go ahead and head up top to make sure that you don't mess anyone up. You still want to make sure you're knocking out the pillars in order. Once he jumps to the second pillar, he's gonna spin downwards. While he's spinning, I wouldn't be attacking him, but as he's finishing up his spin, you can go attack him. He's actually vulnerable to stagger during this mode. If he's aggroed onto you or someone who's already standing in front of the pillar, it's perfect. You can line yourself up and then push stagger because he'll be facing you, which means all of your frontal attacks will be getting value. And then same thing, you can use your counter gun lance as he runs through you to get a little bit of extra damage and stagger. Once he crashes into the third pillar though, groggy, you cannot stagger him. That he will not be staggered during that phase, so save your big stagger abilities. Once he stands up though and he starts doing his other patterns when you guys are going to use Way or Thyrane, whatever, that is another stagger window though. So push that stagger, push that stagger, push that stagger. Your goal is to get that stagger as low as possible so that you can get a nice damage window after you guys break both armors. Now I spoke about it briefly earlier with the Purify. This is the first time that you're going to need to Purify if you don't have a Paladin in your party. Even if you have a Paladin in your party and they don't have it up, you want to be on the lookout to make sure you can cleanse your team of the vertigo. The boss is going to be doing the long pattern. He's going to like swing left, swing right, slam down, and then do a spin, and that spin applies vertigo. Right after that, he's going to jump up and do do axes, you want to make sure that you cleanse. That way no one is slowed during the axe mechanic, because then the axes are going to hit you and you're going to die, right? So we want to avoid that. Now, I know it sounds like I'm just talking about the whole beginning of the fight, but I want to bring this up because there are certain stagger windows that you have, so I want to make sure I identify all of them. Once he drops back down from the axes, he's going to be charging at someone else for the last pillar. Once he locks on to someone as a target, he can be staggered again. That is an opening, a stagger window, but be careful not to tank it, because 9 times out of 10, you're using your counter Gunlance, your parry, to tank the final hit from the axes when he slams down on the ground. So you're not going to have it for that charge. So I usually go up, use like a shield bash, maybe a fire bullet, and then I dodge out of the way just to get a little bit of extra stagger. After that, he's going to crash into the wall. He'll be all groggy again. Same thing as before. He will not be able to be staggered when he's in this little groggy phase. But once he stands up, there is a very small stagger window. So if he's very close to stagger, be careful, because you can stagger him there. You don't want to. You want to make sure you stagger the boss when everyone is ready. And usually at this point, once he's standing up, everyone is running back to their locations to run for axes, so they're not ready to DPS. You're going to do your second axe mechanic, and after that, the boss will come back down. This is when you're looking to big stagger. Usually you want to wait to see if the boss will spin. He'll put the red telegraph on the ground, and in a perfect world, the stagger is so low that he's just one hit away, and once he puts the telegraph on the ground, you can stagger him. What this will do is it'll cancel the spin, but that spin has a cooldown. It has a 1 minute cooldown, so that'll mean you guys are safe from that spin for quite some time, which is good because that spin is a time where you can't be doing damage, right? So stopping that spin is very, very nice. Sometimes he doesn't do it and then he'll spin after the stagger, but regardless, that's one of the main stagger windows and big damage windows as well. If you're using the offensive awakening for Gunlancer, that is a perfect time to use it because it's one of the major damage windows. Now that we're finally past that first portion of axes and stagger and all that stuff, it's pretty much just staggering the boss as it goes. Whenever the boss is available, you're going to be attacking, you're going to be staggering, stuff like that. So I'll stop talking about the stagger. I also mentioned the Purify. You want to just look out for those long patterns and make sure you're saving the Purify or having the Purify available for those, just in case your teammates get vertigo. That is super essential, especially in like ghost phase. Now that we are here, I'm also going to bring up something else that people may not be completely used to, and that is soaking. In Gate 2 of Hell Valtan, there are some attacks that you have to soak, meaning you as the Gunlancer or a support can also help. You're gonna wanna tank it. You wanna make sure you get hit by it. And the reason being is because if you don't get hit by it, there are certain attacks that when Valtan does, if he doesn't hit anyone, he'll turn around and do them again. You want to avoid Valtan doing these attacks. There are 2 of them that you want to soak. The first one is prior to when he does like the wall break. Prior to that, when he charges, you can't counter him. You want to make sure you are hit by those charges, because if you aren't hit, he'll turn around and charge again. After he does the wall break, you don't have to worry about that though, because you could just counter him. The other thing is a jump. He does this little leap, this little hop. This is so essential to soak. This is the #1 thing you need to soak, and you have to be on the lookout. Oh my god, it's so crazy how much you have to be on the lookout for this. Shield charge is so good for this, because sometimes he'll turn around and do it, and your supports, if you're a support watching this, you want to be on the lookout for this shit too, because you can Godsent yourself or Rhapsody yourself. You want to make sure you're getting hit by this, because this one, if you don't soak it and he turns around and jumps, he will one-shot your teammates. He can one-shot some of the squishier people like Sorks or Gunslingers, so you want to avoid that as much as possible. Whenever Valtan isn't in the middle of an attacking pattern, you want to kind of play reactive and see what he's gonna do. Wait to make sure you know what pattern is coming before you commit to an attack, because you don't want to be caught with your pants down, so to speak. You can see him kind of move his feet and pick up his axe with 2 hands, and when he starts lifting it over his head, you can tell he's gonna jump. So if you're not already in front of him, you want to shield charge, make sure you're in front of him or get in front of him, whatever you got to do. And I usually just use counter Gunlance to parry it so it doesn't do any damage. But if I don't have that off cooldown, I'll like Nalasia's myself just to make sure that I don't die to tanking it. Normally though, I'm not going to die though, because I have like heavy armor and stuff. But this jump throughout the entire thing, except for Ghost Phase, every single time he does this, you want to soak it. On Ghost Phase, you do not need to soak it, but everywhere else, you need to soak it. Now, the final major thing that you're going to want to be on the lookout for is counters. Counters are so essential for Gate 2. There are so many times you're going to need to counter, and 9 times out of 10, people are going to be relying on the Gunlancer or the supports to hit the counters, especially with Paladin and Gunlancer having two of the better counters in the groups. You have Dash Upper Fire and Holy Sword, especially when he does the 5 counter mechanic. That's usually why you guys go last. It's one of the harder counters to hit, so you want to be ready to knock it out. Even though I never really found the 5th counter that bad, just wait for him to turn blue. It's pretty easy to be reactive because Dash Upper Fire is a quick counter. But at 65 bars, there's a counter. After he knocks the walls down, he can do counters whenever. Ghost Phase, there's tons of counters. During Hellfire, there's counters. After Memory Pattern, there's a counter. Like, there's so many times you're gonna have to look out to counter. So you want to start getting used to that timing as soon as you can. Whenever you see him doing that little stomp with his fist or, you know, slamming on the ground, start getting used to the timing. Think about it. Don't overreact. Don't panic. Just be like, okay, 1, 2, boom, and you can get the counter. You'll be good. If you're worried about dying, go ahead and use the Defensive Awakening. I used it during my Deathless runs. During our normal prog, I used the Offensive Awakening to help with damage, but if you're going for Deathless, you're not going to need to worry about damage. Everyone should be aware of what can give them good damage, and if they're slacking in damage, a Gunlancer's Awakening isn't going to make the difference. There isn't that much overall aside from learning patterns and some of those essential things I shared for Gate 2, because it's a lot of that stuff just repeated over and over and over again. If you have any questions about certain patterns, I can try and help in the comments or on my Twitch stream, twitch.tv/Haiga. The link will be in the description. But anyways, I hope you found this helpful. If there was something that you feel like I explained poorly, don't be afraid to let people know in the comments. Or if there's something you want me to explain more in depthly, ask in the comments or on my Twitch stream. I'll see you guys later though. Have a good rest of your day. Peace out.